Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Callisto Protocol maximum security walkthrough, and this is chapter 3 called Aftermath. And first of all, when you open this door, immediately back up, because there is an enemy hidden behind it. And he is there just to take a cheap shot at your life bar, so don't let him do it. As soon as you open the door, take 2 or 3 steps back and don't give him a chance to smack you. So, now that that's out of the way, and he will also be very soon, I can tell you this video, if you haven't seen it down in the title already, this video is part 1 out of 2, because I have divided this chapter up into 2 videos. And that will be a staple throughout this walkthrough, because Callisto Protocol isn't a very long game in terms of the amount of chapters. There are only 8 chapters throughout the game. But what it lacks in number of levels, it makes up in level length, if you get what I mean. So in order to not having to make hour-long videos, which I feel whenever I watch a walkthrough, I enjoy shorter videos. It makes it easier if you're looking for a specific encounter or a specific puzzle, to not have to scroll back and forth through an hour, 90-minute long video. And I always try to make my videos no longer than at least 30 minutes. 1 or 2 of these videos might be a little bit over 30 minutes, I think, because I wanted to cut them in like logical places. So I don't like cut the medio medio. New word, just made it up. Medio. A video mid-battle. And that was the store. And that may have looked very choppy, or I know it looked very choppy. With the store, the things work like this. There is a lot of animations going on when you're in the store, when you're purchasing things, and not so much when you're selling stuff. So I recommend you pause the video if you want to see what's actually going on there. What I did was I more or less flushed my inventory. I sell almost everything I have. I think I only kept like a med kit or some bullets. And I also did an upgrade on my baton, which will allow me to do what I call the baseball swing. And that is a great tactic you can employ against enemies. Do 2 R2 strikes and then do an R1 strike. An R1 strike will be a heavy hit. And I think I do it immediately on this enemy. Do 1 swing, do a 2nd swing, and then we do the baseball swing. That is a heavy hit. That will always knock the enemy off his feet. And if you do that, you employ that tactic, you can stun lock enemies in this game. Because as soon as you knock him off his feet, immediately run up to him and start doing 2 R2 swings followed by an R1. And an important thing that I realized a bit into this game, I didn't realize it as quickly as I should have, because when I sat down to record this, I actually recorded the first 3 chapters twice. And I started recording, I wasn't super pleased with it, so I decided to start over from the beginning. But either way, a mistake I tend to do when it comes to that hit combo, because you will see me doing that strat very on and off. By the way, I'm gonna talk about that in a little while. This is a regular enemy. He is set up just for you to get a stab or a backstab on him. And I may have talked about an enemy type called the Spitters, that I call the Spitters at least. I don't know what the official name for them is. Well, this Demogorgon looking fucker coming around the corner, that is a Spitter. He is the reason why I recommend you have assisted aiming turned on. Because at a distance, he will spit some kind of gunk at you. You cannot dodge it, or you can't use the dodge mechanic. If you walk to the side, it will miss. But it is a source of unnecessary damage. If you get up nice, close and personal with him, he will not spit. He only does that at a distance, but it can be a nuisance, and as I said, we're playing this on maximum security already, so the damage output on the enemies is not to be trifled with. So whenever a spitter shows up, always aim at their head and try to blast the head straight off his ugly ass shoulders. And that is something, when I picked up the gun, I think I immediately upgraded the clip capacity. I want to see Jacob's clip. I can't really remember. Yes, because I have 10 bullets in the pistol. I would actually recommend that you try to keep 10 bullets in your pistol, and any ammo in excession more than that, sell that. Don't keep it in your inventory. We will use firearms very little throughout this game. I think I mentioned that will mainly be a tactic we employ against bosses, because the bosses are reliant on you using firearms to be able to take them down. But then we will use our shotgun that we get later on. And down here, this is a little side tunnel that you can go down into and open this chest to pick up some nice loot. Be aware that when you have opened and looted this chest, 2 enemies will spawn in, 2 regular enemies, and they will be right here waiting for you behind the corner. So try to make as quick work of them as possible, and of course try to not get caught in between them. I got a little bit lucky here. You saw right there when Jacob swung back to do a heavy hit on on lefty here, or righty actually. I hit the biophage behind me. And that is a great thing if you get caught in between enemies, because Jacob's weapon has a hitbox all throughout the animation. So sometimes you can actually clock an enemy that is standing over to your side or behind you just on the backswing, and that will knock them a little bit off their feet and give you a brief moment of reprieve. But as I've said before, enemies will only attack you one at a time, like you're the action hero in a movie. They all stand and wait around for you to take them on one at a time. That was a horrible sentence. Let's forget I ever said that. But the problem is why you don't want to get caught with an enemy behind you. As I've mentioned before, Jacob will not dodge any attacks coming in from behind. And you may have noticed in this guide thus far, and it will be here coming up right now, that there are some, you might find, odd transitions. Because throughout this guide, I said that these chapters are quite lengthy, and they are. Most of them take around an hour, a little bit over, to complete. So in order to save time, I have not only trimmed out the cutscenes, as you may have noticed already, you have most probably have noticed that. I have left in a few of them that are very short or are very key to the story. But I have also trimmed out when Jacob is climbing up or down ladders and when you're crawling through vents. And that is all just to save time, because nothing will ever attack you when you're climbing up or down a ladder. Nothing will ever attack you when you're crawling inside a vent. There will be some scares where the game tries to mess with you, but you're always safe inside a vent. And there are never any branching paths when you're inside a vent. So that's why I decided to trim all of that out. And while we're on the subject of branching paths, never mind. like you see there. There I trimmed out the vent. And I talked about that there is a trophy in this game called the Commonality for finding the 2 secret rooms, and the first of those 2 rooms we will actually come across in this video. And there I will also pick up a collectible, and I think you have to pick up that collectible. It is against my principles to pick them up, but you have to pick it up for the game to register the room as being found for the trophy. I think. I'm not gonna swear to it, but do it anyway. If you're going through this game with a walkthrough because you're going for the platinum, you'll probably want to pick up the collectibles as well. So there's no harm in doing it. God, that's gruesome. And that is something about this game. This game is extremely violent. One of the selling points for this game was there is a bunch of death animations when Jacob dies. You will not be seeing any of them throughout this walkthrough. I died very few times recording this, but it happened. And something I really liked that they patched was in when this game was released. At first you couldn't skip the death animations, and the death animations are super cool the first time you see them. And make no mistake, this game is challenging, as I've mentioned before. Before you learn the dodge mechanic, and not a key to getting through this game quite unscathed is knowing the spawns as well. Because some enemies, I don't agree with some of the enemy positions. Like the first enemy in this chapter, he's there just to snipe you. And the good thing is, you're still at the first checkpoint. You have traveled for like 5 seconds coming up to him. So you can just restart the checkpoint. But some enemies, I don't completely agree with. But have no fear, I will show you. Because there are... By the way, here's an enemy lying on the ground and he's not dead yet. He will very soon be. As soon as we use our stun baton and bash his skull in. And they have done a lot of improvements in this game via patches. Also something that was a thing at the beginning of this game, or when this game was released. Using a medkit, one of those injection needles, that animation was super slow. Oh dear God, it was slow. By the way, we are supposed to head to the left to progress in the story. First, make a right in here, into the laundry room, because we're gonna pick up some good loot. But as I was saying, the healing animation at the release of this game was super slow. I think it was a conscious choice by the developers to make, since this is technically a survival horror game, like they wanted to make you heal at, like it had to be a choice. And it could mess you up if you did it at the wrong time, because you are exposed. You can get clocked. You have no iframes while healing.
Nice.
But at some point they realized that wasn't a great idea to have it that way. So they made the animation faster. By the way, this is something that is going to be a constant problem, at least throughout, until you get the upgrade to your inventory, that your inventory will almost always be stocked. If you follow this guide and you don't make any hasty choices when it comes to combat and take unnecessary damage, or by the way, speaking of combat, do not open the laundry machine. You saw an X. Go in here, pick up some good stuff. When you come back out, you will see that there is an X icon on one of the laundry machines. I open it so you can see why you shouldn't. Because it's a trap. There's one of those slug enemies hiding inside it. If you just leave it alone and walk away, nothing will happen, you see. But I was a bit curious. I thought maybe, but no. I'm not sure if I took some damage there. I don't think I did. But that is, as I said, talking about the healing animation. It was super slow in the beginning. They have fixed it, so I think if you do a heavy swing on an enemy and knock them off their feet and immediately go into the healing animation, you will be fully healed and ready to continue to kick ass before the enemy has a chance to get back on his feet and swing at you. So that is a great improvement they've done. And this is also one of those moments. Right, here is... I talked about the secret room. Now we're gonna go and find the first one. Because the game wants you to go to the left, and we're not gonna do that just yet. Instead, we're gonna crawl into that vent over to the right. We see the red light coming from, right there. And before you crawl in, there is a pristine energy converter to pick up here. The only function of energy converters and stuff like that is for you to sell them at the store. There is regular, and I think the regular gives you 100 credits, and a pristine one I think gives you 200. You will also get other stuff later on that you can sell for more money. Because we are gonna try to rack up as much money as you can. That is a great thing to do, because all the upgrades cost credits, and if you want as smooth a ride as possible throughout maximum security, I recommend you go for some good upgrades. And I will show you all the upgrades I do. As I said, the store parts will be quite choppy. I recommend that you pause to see properly what I'm doing, because as I said, every time you buy something in the store, you go into an animation. For instance, if you upgrade your stun baton, you see Jacob put it into the store and it goes up and it's being scanned, and it's only like 6 or 7 seconds. But when you're creating a walkthrough, as for instance before the boss fights, I always stock up on a lot of ammunition, and it does add up on time in the videos. But this is the first secret room, so make sure to pick up that automated recording. It says Duncan Cole Secret Room 1. So that is the first one. I think the second one is in chapter 6, I think. Not entirely sure. But now, once again, we will climb up a ladder, but you don't get to see that. It gives you kind of the sense that the ladders are extremely long, but they aren't. Neither are the... I did say that I trimmed out the elevator rides as well, haven't I? By the way, when you get back out here, there are now 2 enemies outside this room. I like to try to bait one of them in here, so I can take them on one at a time. And the best thing about baiting in the first one, that sometimes you can get a little bit lucky, like I do with the second one, and he doesn't notice that we are here. You see, that's the beauty of the stun lock. With these enemies, you can just push them into a corner and mash their asses. They're meat and you're the grinder, and it's time to make hamburgers. But this second enemy, he is completely clueless to my presence, so we just sneak up behind him and shiv his ass. And you see over to my right that there is a vent. That is a secondary way to get into the room we were just in, so you can just ignore that. There are 2 ways to get into the room, the way I did or crawling in through the vent. Which one you choose is entirely up to you. The result will still be the same. And brace yourself for a jump scare coming in from the left right about now. I can honestly say I may have given up a slight squeak first time that guy showed up. And if you squeaked as well, show him who's boss. And now I think in the next room we are gonna get a new weapon to our arsenal. This is also something I probably should have trimmed out, because we will be opening a few of these heavy doors and the animation is so slow. No, this is not the room where we get the next weapon. I think it's in the room after this corridor. And there is another jump scare coming in from the right, I think. Yep, there we have it. But we can just ignore him, because he can't get through. And that one will just flee, because they are just there to stress you out. Now this is the room. This is where we pick up. There's also a cutscene I have trimmed out when Jacob picks up the grip glove. And the grip glove works a bit like kinesis in Dead Space. And it's easy to write this weapon off as completely useless, because in its basic form it is quite useless. I think so, at least. When you upgrade it though, it becomes a beast of a weapon. Oh dear god, you can wreak so much havoc with the grip glove. It's insane. But before we are allowed to exit this room, we are gonna take on 3 enemies. And here we're also gonna be introduced to another enemy type that I call brutes. I don't think that's the official name for those either, but right on cue, here's the brute. And a brute is recognized by the fact that they are thick boys. And they are a little bit shitty to fight. I always like to, whenever I face a brute, I try to either use my grip glove, see if I can throw him into spikes close by. There are no spikes in this room, so you have to take him down the slow way. Because brutes, as like in all games, whenever there is a guy that didn't skip out on donuts, he can take a beating. Oh dear god, how much punishment these guys can endure. And this is one of the reasons I decided to upgrade my stun baton, because brutes are gonna be a thing that you come across from time to time in this game, and you can see he is... Okay, now I'm not beating on him, but a normal enemy goes down quite quickly. But thick boy though, no. And they can be a bit wonky to try to do the stun lock on, because you see sometimes they can like block your swing with their arm. There is an upgrade you can unlock that will often chop off their arm if they try to block it. I will not unlock it throughout this guide. I focus on other things instead. And if you have upgraded your grip glove and the shotgun you get later on, you will not need it. But you saw what a beating he took. I think they take a disproportionate amount before they go down. It feels almost like you're fighting a mini boss or something. And at the beginning of this room, as soon as we came out of the cutscene with the grip glove, you saw me pick a fuse out of the wall, so you can change that one. And here is a grip battery pack, because the grip glove uses up battery packs, and it goes, if you don't, or it does recharge on its own. I decided to do some damage upgrade on my stun baton. and also gonna start upgrading my grip glove. I'm gonna focus, I think, quite a lot on upgrading the grip glove. But grip battery packs, it will recharge on its own. It's that little blue marker you see over Jacob's life bar at the back of his neck. But if you want to recharge it instantly, you can use one of those battery packs. I recommend to never sell a battery pack unless you absolutely have to. You only get 10 credits for them, and they are the only item you cannot buy in the store. They are not available for purchase. They can only be picked up from enemies, loot chests, or just lying around in the area, so you're aware of this. Never sell a battery pack unless you have to. It's just not worth it. And make sure to exit through the correct door so you don't start backtracking. But now this video is almost coming to an end, and we are through the first half of Aftermath. And hopefully you're enjoying the game thus far, because we have some interesting things coming up, as you can see as we open this door into what looks like something out of Event Horizon. But that is something we'll take on in part 2. So in the meantime, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.